My name's Lucy Harris and I look after the funding and recruitment for the apprenticeship programme. My job title is Funding and Recruitment Specialist. Candidate will search for a vacancy online and that will come back, they'll submit an application form which will come through to us in the back office. What will happen then is we will shortlist the candidates and invite them in for initial assessments. We host all of our initial assessments at our head office in Milton Keynes. The reason we do that is really to give the candidates a brand image and a real sense of atmosphere when they come into the training centre. We test candidates on mechanical comprehension and also their English and maths as well, so we know what level they're at when they start the programme, and we also do a screening interview with candidates as well. The second interview then would happen at the dealership if they're successful, so they'd be invited into the dealership that they've applied for online, and they would meet either the service manager or the after sales manager or a parts manager if it's a parts role they've applied for, where they would have a more in-depth interview with them. We're really looking for ideal candidates for Mercedes-Benz, so people who are really focused on the brand is key to us. In terms of applications for candidates, what we're looking for is obviously, and it sounds quite obvious, but a fully completed application is essential, so we need people's contact details so we can get back to them if we're interested. If you're applying for a technical role, then we're really interested in somebody who's got some mechanical experience in one way or another, whether that be tinkering on their bike at home to people who have done work experience in dealerships or garages. For a parts candidate, we're more interested in seeing somebody who's got more of a sales kind of interest, somebody who's good with computers, somebody who's interested in IT, somebody who's good with people as well. That's really key for a parts role. In terms of somebody's qualifications, what we're looking for generally is grades A to C's in English, maths and IT. We are quite lenient with that though, because really we're looking at the application as a whole. So we're really looking for somebody who's, as I've said before, really brand orientated, somebody who's really interested in working for Mercedes and also has a serious passion in the motor industry. So a fully completed application with all of those details is really key to us. So Mercedes-Benz is looking for a really high calibre of candidate. I think what people need to remember that apprenticeships, especially with technical roles, aren't about oily rags and Phil Mitchell garages. They're about high quality qualifications. Mercedes-Benz is a very forward-thinking programme. We've got very high technology on our vehicles, and we need academic people who are able to manage the quantity and the intensity of the programme and what it delivers to people. The reality of it is that we get 12,000 applications every year and we struggle to fill 180 positions. We come across many different issues with applications when candidates are completing applications online. Some of the things, just off the top of my head, that we come across, contact details aren't filled in applications. How are we supposed to get hold of you if you haven't put your phone number or email address on there? Simple things like that can actually lose you out an opportunity with us. Other things, qualifications, and fill them out honestly. We need to know what qualifications you've got in order to support you through the programme, and your qualifications aren't going to hinder you, which I think is what some people believe when they put in an application. So to complete your application fully and honestly is also key. To make sure that you've included any relevant work experience that is relevant to the position you've applied for. That's always key as well. It's paramount that we know what you've done previously in order to know for us whether we're putting you forward for the right role or not. Issues that sometimes we come across at interviews would be people turning up late. Obviously make sure that you know the time of your interview and that you're on time. Usually 10 minutes before your interview is absolutely ideal. Make sure that you're prepared, so you know what position you've applied for, you know how you're going to get to the position if you were offered it, you know a bit about the position, so if somebody was going to ask you, it would really benefit you if you knew a little bit of background information. You've also got to remember that your presentation is really important as well. People are going to expect presentation of you of a certain level. I suppose you could put yourself in the position of how would you feel if the interviewer was sat there in a t-shirt and jeans. You wouldn't expect that, so why would we expect you to turn up to the interview dressed in a t-shirt and jeans? Another thing to remember when you're having an interview is your vocabulary is very important. In it might be appropriate when you're with your friends, but they're not appropriate when you're doing an interview, especially with Mercedes. What people need to remember when they're applying is that, or when they're not applying for it even, that an apprenticeship or a vocational training programme is a viable route and an alternative to A-levels, and I think that's what people aren't seeing at the moment. You know, maybe people are thinking about going off to university to do mechanical engineering, for example, and they think they need to go and do A-levels. That's not necessarily true. An apprenticeship can offer you exactly the same qualifications, level 2 and level 3, and can give you those routes as well. I think all people need to remember is that a vocational route is an equal alternative to an academic career. Okay, so Mercedes-Benz offers other routes if people don't want to go into a technical role. Another good alternative to get into the motor industry is parts apprenticeships. Parts is very much about marketing and sales and people who are good with people and have good personable skills. Really welcome females applying into the motor industry. They're a massive minority currently. What Mercedes-Benz try to do, we have front-facing female and managerial staff in the apprenticeship programme. We have a student liaison officer that looks after all of the students but is also female herself. What females might want to do if they're wanting to go into the motor industry but maybe not get into the depth of a technical role is maybe apply for a parts position. Parts people really need to be good with people. They need to be able to communicate both face-to-face and on the phone and have good marketing and selling skills, and that might be something that some females are more inclined to apply for as opposed to a technical role.